In the last data, we saw how to use variables as parameters. You can also use variables to pass data back from a method. Let's say we want to create a method that takes a number and returns the value of that number squared. Remember that the square of a number is simply that number times itself. So 2 squared is 2 times 2, or 4. In Java, the multiplication operator is the asterisk. So 2 squared could be written as 2 asterisk 2. In order to return data from a method, we must do 2 things. Number 1, indicate the type of data that we will be returning in the method declaration. And number 2, ensure that the last line of the method is the return command followed by the data to be returned. So for our square method, we would create it as follows. Public, static, but now we are actually returning data, so we can't use void. We need to put the type of data that we will be returning. In this case, let's assume that it's a whole number. If we know the whole number is going to be less than 2 billion, then we can use an int. Otherwise, we would need to use a long. In this case, less than 2 billion is fine, so we'll use int. So that gives us public, static, int, the name of the method, which is square, and then parameters. This method needs to take one parameter, which is the variable that needs to be squared, and that can be an int. So that would be int, and we'll call it input. Now, as we go through the method, we first need to define a variable that's going to hold the square of the number. That will also be an int, so we'll define an int and we'll call it I square. Now we need to actually do the operation where we square the number. The line to do that is I square equals I input times I input. You'll notice the equal sign is the assignment operator. It takes what's on the right and puts it on the left. On the right, we evaluate I input times I input. We take that number and we put it on the left, or put it into I square. I square now contains the value of I input squared. We need to return that, so our last line will be return I square. Now you try. Press continue and write the square method. You can press show hint or show solution if you get stuck. Good luck!